Going on, Falcon fans? It's your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today we're gonna talk about how can the Atlanta Falcon offense be really good this year, and we're gonna talk about some keys and stuff, and we can see if the Atlanta Falcons have those keys to make this offense be everything that we want it to be this year. So guys, if you haven't had already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit the notification bell so you know that I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys out here what I talk about. And please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in and hear me talk about these Atlanta Falcons. So guys, like I said, we talked about the offense so much this offseason. We talked about the additions that the Atlanta Falcons had. We talked about the young quarterback and Desmond Ridder. But you know, with all the pieces and you write it on paper, right? It always, you got to figure out how can this offense really be successful. And there are 10 things that the Atlanta Falcons definitely need to do this year. And if they do these 10 things, and we're going to talk about each one and determine if the Atlanta Falcons got what it takes to be that really good offense this year that we think they can be. Because like I said, on paper, you know, all the positions, explosive, all the things that we think this Atlanta Falcons team can be, we feel like they got them. Kind of thin in the receiver room, right? But still, I still think this offense can be really, really explosive this year. We're going to talk about it. All right, so the first thing the Atlanta Falcons definitely need to do, the number one thing is they need to make the defense play the entire field, right? So I'm talking about all the way over to the sideline, all the way down to the end zone, right? They need to make the defense play the entire field, right? The question is, do Atlanta Falcons have those guys that can do that? And they definitely do. They have all these different players. We talked about the different players, right? They got a Bijan, they got a Cordell, they got a Tyler Algier, they got a Drake, right? They got a Jonnu Smith, they got a Kyle Pitts, they got a Scotty Miller, right? And going deep, right? We have two guys. Scotty Miller is definitely a guy that can actually get over the top and stretch the field. Another guy that we might don't think about is Kyle Pitts is another guy definitely can stretch the field and get over the top and beat some of his matchups as well. So making these guys play the entire field, that's what you want to do to defenses, right? You want to spread them out. You want to tight them in, whatever you need to do. You're going to utilize that motion that Arthur Smith loves to do, right? The misdirection, things like that. But you want to make them play the entire field, right? You don't want them to get locked in on certain things that you do well. You want them have them thinking the whole game. Make sure that who's going to get the ball this time. If it's going to be a run, if it's going to be a pass, it's going to the tight ends, it's going to the receivers, it's going to the running backs, right? That's the way you want to have the defense. You want to make them play the entire field, and you want to have them tired going back up and down, right? That's how most explosive offenses are, right? It's hard to get on film and study an offense like that because everything can look the same, but it can be different, so different because they don't know what's going to happen in each different play, right? Everybody have their tendencies, but when you got so many different weapons like offense, like the Atlanta Falcons have, you definitely can actually start to do things and not getting so many different tendencies, and you can make these guys play the entire field. So the first thing the Atlanta Falcons definitely need to do is make the defense play the entire field, sideline to sideline and end zone to end zone. If they can do that, which I believe they can, I think the Atlanta Falcons could definitely be one of these good offenses in the NFL in 2023. The next thing that the Atlanta Falcons need to do, and I already know that they can do this because they did it last year to the tune of being the fourth best in the league, and that is establish a run game, right? We already know the Atlanta Falcons can do that, right? So this is one of their bread and butters. This is Arthur Smith, baby. He want to run the ball. We know that. He want to control the game, right? He want to shorten the game by running the ball, dictating the line of scrimmage, right? That's what he wants to do. So we already know that that's something that Arthur Smith loves to do. We already know the Atlanta Falcons can do that. And then with the addition of Bijan Robinson to go along with Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson, There should be no reason why the Atlanta Falcons can't do that this year, right? Build on what they had last year, keep the running game going, but you can just add more to it now because you have, the number 8th overall pick, Bijan Robinson, right? You can still utilize a guy like Avery Williams out the backfield. You can utilize Jono Smith out the backfield. He has done that before. So their run game is really going to be something that the Atlanta Falcons can really, lean on. Just like last year, if you remember, we wasn't doing that good in that Cleveland game. And then what Arthur Smith said, we're just going to run the damn ball, and they ran the ball 14 straight times. All right, one thing that's probably going to be a little different from the run game this year. Desmond Ridder probably won't run it as much as Marcus Mariota did. So he's definitely going to have to find more rooms to create, rush, the run game, make it more efficient. But a guy like Bijan should be able to take up that slack from, having the quarterback run the ball so much. So establish a run game. We definitely know if the Atlanta Falcons can establish the run game and do the things they got to do. All right. The third thing, all right, create mismatches. They create mismatches. And I think this is really, really easy for this Atlanta Falcon team. If you look at just Kyle Pitts in itself, we already said he can stretch the field, but Kyle Pitts is a tight end and the wide receiver body that can split out wide. He can play in the slot. He can actually create his own mismatches by just looking at the defense and lining up to where he can put his mismatch, get where he needs to be. If they're in the zone or a man, identify that. Desmond Ridder be able to read where the mismatch is at. All right, you can split Bijan Robinson out, create a mismatch on the linebacker. Right, you can do that. Drake London, you can put him on the inside and the outside, so you can create mismatches with this Atlanta Falcon team. Of course, Cordell Patterson as well. We know, put it back in the backfield. They playing man coverage. More than likely, the linebacker is going to go with the back. Unless they get in some kind of zone or something like that. But if they're playing man, more likely that linebacker is going to push out to the back. Now you got a mismatch. We seen a couple of years ago when Matty Ice hit Cordell Patterson on the sideline because he had a back on him, and we actually won that game that year, if you recall. So identify the mismatches, take advantage of the mismatches. Kyle Pitts is always going to be a big mismatch. I think Bijan should be as well as Drake. The way he lined up and the way he actually run his routes, I think we can actually establish those mismatches with those guys. So create mismatches is definitely something this Atlanta Falcon team can do. And right now, we got checkmate 3 checks with the first 3 things that we can actually do with this offense. The number 4 thing is minimize your mistakes. That's going to be key, right? This is something that's really out of control of the coaching staff. It's all about the players right now. When you minimize mistakes, of course, the quarterback has to be able to protect the ball, the running backs, and make sure they don't fumble the ball. The receivers, Drake London, make sure when you catch the ball, hold on to it. Don't get it took away from you. Trying to get extra plays, be smart, things like that. So, got to be able to minimize mistakes. That includes penalties, right? Make sure we don't get penalties. Get an explosive play, get called back for holding. That's one of the things that we definitely don't want to do. So those are the kind of mistakes that can really derail your offense, especially when you're having a good drive. We all know you get a holding penalty on first down. Now it's 1st and 20. It's hard to recover from those kind of things. So minimize your mistakes. Definitely something that the Atlanta Falcons should be able to do. It was one of the least penalized teams last year from a penalty standpoint. And really not that many turnovers. The turnovers that we did have really was self-inflicted. The fumbles Marcus Mariota had at the snap with the center exchange. Like I said, Drake London not holding on to the balls. He had to get a first down. Trying to make more plays. Things like that. We can control those kind of turnovers. It was not so much on the defensive side of the ball. It was the offense making self-inflicted wounds and the turnovers we had, right? And the penalties. We make sure that we don't have so many penalties. So, guys, we're 4-0 right now for the things that we definitely can do to make this offense be explosive. The fifth thing is complementary defense. Yeah, so we're gonna go on the other side of the ball when you talk about the fifth thing that needs to happen, right? And I talked about this so much this year about how impressed I am with the moves that the Atlanta Falcons made on the defensive side of the ball. And from Atlanta Falcon franchise, where we can say the defense really have been a weak spot for this team for so many years, right? So the defense do their part this year. It definitely helped out the offense. I'm 100% believe that. I mean, create turnovers, right? Got to be able to do that. Create turnovers. More 3 and outs. We want to see those 3 and outs. I talked about that as well. Field position. Always control the field position on defense because you can keep them pinned deep. You're going to always get field position on the offensive side of the ball. And something that Atlanta Falcons was really good at last year was be really good in the red zone. So if the Atlanta Falcons can do that, I really believe that that's definitely going to help us as well. So the fifth thing is our defense. Our defense need to stand up this year. I love the pieces we got. I'm so excited to see how these guys going to actually play. That defensive line is so deep. I think they can go almost too deep from the defensive line standpoint. And the secondary is deep as well. Only weakness is the linebacker room. We kind of thin the linebacker room. But if guys like Caden Ellis and Troy Anderson able to step up, that's really going to benefit us as well. Still got time to bring another guy in. You know, a guy like Rashawn Evans is still out there. Don't know what's the status of that. But our linebacker is kind of weak. But from the other everywhere else on the defensive side of the ball, I really like our guys, and I think they're going to be better this year. So I hopefully we can, complement our offense this year and do the things we need to do from a defense standpoint. So that's our 5 things. Go to number 6. Number 6 is play calling, right? That's Arthur Smith doing what he does. He actually go out there and make sure he call plays. It's important to know the personnel you have. I think if you just look at the 2 different seasons that Arthur Smith had already called plays here in Atlanta, completely different quarterbacks on and 2 different offenses. If you look at the way the offense was ran, of course we had a mobile quarterback last year, a lot of read options and things like that. The year before we had Matt Ryan, Matty Ice, drop back guy. So you got to be creative, but you got to be able to utilize the role players that you have, and you got all the players we just talked about. And the first key there is make them play the entire field. Well, play calling is definitely going to be part of that. So Arthur Smith really needs to make sure that he utilizes all his guys, right? Don't get tunnel vision. If you recall the first year, 2015 with Kyle Shanahan, he every play like it was a read for Julio, right? The first read was always Julio, which is understandable, but you can't get to where you keyed in on one guy. And, a guy like Roddy White was still out there. So it seemed like he was trying to go to the best player, which, like I said, that's what you want to do. But you got to be able to spread the ball around because you don't want to start getting too predictable. You don't want to put your quarterback to where he's staring down one player all the time. But what it seems like Arthur Smith is, a pretty good play caller. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do this year with all the weapons that he have at his disposal to make things happen. So that 6th thing, the play calling from our head coach, offensive coordinator. The 7th thing, which is could have been the first thing, right? But the 7th thing is going to be our offensive line. I think our offensive line is pretty good. You love the continuity that's already there. Just need to solidify that left guard position. I love the addition that we added with Matthew Bergeron. See if he actually is going to be able to beat out Matt Hennessy. That should be the case. Matt Hennessy probably end up being that swing interior lineman for us. But that's where we really need to make sure we solidify that left guard position. We can do that and build on what I said earlier about establishing the run game, build on that offensive line, that continuity. Hopefully all these guys can stay healthy throughout the year. O-line is always going to be important. We always know that's where you kind of win the trenches. Quarterback needs time, running back need holes and things like that to get through. So that's definitely should be a key for a successful offense. And I think Atlanta Falcons is definitely having one of the best offensive line last year, vice the year before having one of the worst offensive lines. So kudos to the players and the coaching staff turning it around just how much they did in 1 year from offensive line standpoint. And you can say that offensive line is one of our good solid positions right now from on this team is our offensive line. The next thing, number 8, we got to take some chances, right? You got to be able to take chances. So you're going to be able to take some deep shots and connect on them, right? The Atlanta Falcons took chances last year, but I don't think we got a lot of completions on our deep ball, taking chances, especially Kyle Pitts. Him and Marcus Mariota could never get on the same page. So we seen Kyle Pitts definitely get behind a lot of guys, but just could not make those connections. You have to take those chances. You really have to do that from an offensive standpoint, because you have to make the defense, once again, at first point, make them play their entire field. So you have to take chances. You got to go out and you got to go for it. Arthur Smith need to, do some trick plays, do some gadget plays, things like that. Take chances to keep the defense guessing. You don't want to get, like I said, so predictable and stagnant. You want to be able to make them think more and more. So the more chances you take, they know that you will freaking throw the ball deep on first down, for an example, something like that. Go for it on fourth down, on your side of the field, because you got the perfect play call that you're going to be able to execute, and you want to have to take those chances. Those are the kind of things that make good offenses. And one thing I can say about the New Orleans Aints, Sean Payton always did that. He took chances. I used to hate him for that. Kind of probably disrespected our defense, right? He used to go against our defense so much, but he always took chances. And I kind of like that kind of mentality, because I think about when I'm playing Madden, that's probably something I would do. Go for it on fourth down or throw a deep ball on 3rd and 1. Just take chances. You never know. That's how you keep the defense honest. They don't know what you're going to do when you're out there. So that 8th thing is be able to take chances with your offense. And I believe Arthur Smith is that kind of guy that will do that in some instances. All right, the 9th thing is to be disciplined. Be disciplined. And this really boils down to just execution. You got to be able to execute, your plays. That's one of the things that's really, really important. You got to be able to make sure that you doing the things you want to do. You make sure when you throwing the ball, make sure you execute your throws, right? Make sure you execute your catches. On the offensive line, make sure you execute your blocks, right? And your running backs, make sure you execute the reads, and along with the quarterback, your reads, make sure you're going through the running lanes, right? Make sure you're making the right read on your throws. Make sure you saw what you saw as a quarterback before you let it rip. Those are the things I'm talking about, execution. Execute the way the play is designed, the way it's called. 11 men together, you should be able to do that. But that's one of the things that the Atlanta Falcons got to do. They need to be disciplined and make sure they execute the way they need to execute. And the last thing the Atlanta Falcons need to do, and the 10th thing they need to do, is be prepared. And more about being prepared is really about knowing your opponent. And like I said, you can't stay the same every week. Mix it up. The Atlanta Falcons have so many different weapons on this offense. A different guy can be featured in the offense. In the first half, and then in the second half, you feature somebody else. You can do that game to game. It's just the way that defense have to be able to prepare for you, because they don't know where you're going to go. Every offense have its bread and butter plays and things like that, but when you have so many weapons like this, you want to make sure everybody get touches. That's what it's all about. Why you get a Kyle Pitts at number 4 overall if you're not going to make sure he get his shots, right? Guy like Drake London, number 8, you want to make sure he get his touches. The same goes with Bijan, right? And you don't want to forget our 1,000-yard running back Tyler Algier as well, and then Mr. Touchdown maker and a guy like CP. So those are all the weapons that we got, and I don't want to forget about Jono Smith. You know, a guy like Mac Hollins. All those guys definitely can contribute as well, but don't, be so doing the same thing each week. Running the ball is running the ball. That's one thing that Arthur Smith is going to do. But when you start to, utilize all your different weapons, you got to be prepared and make sure that you're going to actually, go to the weaknesses of the defense that you're playing that week. That's what it's all about. And I really believe, guys, if the Atlanta Falcons can do those 10 things this offseason, and they have all the capability of doing that with this squad they got on paper. Like I said, paper is there, but you got to be able to execute these things. You want to be able to make the defense play the entire field, establish your run game, create those mismatches, limit your mistakes, minimize your mistakes. Good defense. For once, the Atlanta Falcons play some good defense, complementary defense. Your play calls from your offensive coordinator, your offensive line, keep doing what they're doing. Got to take some chances. Have that gunslinger mentality every now and then. Be disciplined. Execute the plays that's called. Make sure that when it comes your way, you execute the play, and then be prepared. Know your opponent. Take advantage of their weaknesses, and the Atlanta Falcons can be one of those explosive offenses this season in 2023. So, guys, let me know what you think about these 10 keys for the Atlanta Falcons to have that explosive offense. Do you believe that they got what it takes, right? They're in that third day of OTAs today. You love to see the camaraderie that's building there. You heard Calais Campbell say yesterday that a lot of these guys are hungry. They ready. They are so ready to actually make something happen this year, and they believe that they got the squad that can do it. You hear every player is so confident in Desmond Ridder and how his potential, his ceiling can be, the things that he can do. You can hear it from him how confident he is. It's just all about building right now into training camp, into the regular season. So that's what these guys got to do. But from an offensive standpoint, the Atlanta Falcons have everything they need. And the team, the front office, always building, bringing more guys in. So definitely could not be a finished product. Could see some more guys in on that side of the ball, but you just want to be excited and see what happens. So, guys, let me know what you think about these 10 keys to the Atlanta Falcons having a very, very explosive offense this year, and can they make it happen? Don't want to put a ranking out there for them just yet because they're so young, so early, in the off season. But I will later on when I get to look at this what we potentially could be. So, guys, let me know. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.